there comes a moment in life when you realize the thing holding you back isn't the world, it isn't the people around you, and it isn't even your circumstances. It's you. It's what's happening inside you. Your emotions, those invisible waves that rise and crash within your chest, can be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. They can lift you higher than you've ever been, or they can chain you to a place you were never meant to stay. The most dangerous war you'll ever fight isn't against another person, it's against your own emotions. You can conquer mountains, you can face enemies, you can outlast storms, but if you can't control what's happening inside you, you'll lose before the battle even begins. Because the truth is, emotions don't care about your destiny. They care about the moment. They react to pain, to fear, to rejection, to insecurity. They don't ask where you're going. They only remind you where it hurts. And if you let them lead, they will take you off course every single time. You can't always trust what you feel. You can feel alone and still be surrounded by people who love you. You can feel like quitting when you're one step away from breakthrough. You can feel weak when strength is growing inside you. Emotions are loud, but that doesn't mean they're telling you the truth. They'll tell you you're not good enough, that you're running out of time, that you'll never make it. But that's a lie born out of fear, not fact. The strongest people aren't the ones who never feel pain. They're the ones who feel it and keep moving anyway. They've learned to pause when emotions rise, to breathe when everything inside them wants to react, to listen before they speak, and to think before they move. Mastering your emotions thus doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means your feelings stop ruling you. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about not letting what you feel destroy what you've built. Your emotions are your biggest enemy when they start making decisions your mind hasn't approved. When anger speaks for you, regret follows. When fear stops you, opportunity fades. When sadness becomes your focus, joy becomes invisible. You can't build a life led by temporary feelings. Feelings change. Purpose doesn't. Discipline doesn't care if you feel ready. It just asks, are you willing? Because every time you act on discipline instead of emotion, you're building victory inside yourself. Don't let your emotions dictate your identity. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are not your fear. Those are visitors passing storms in the landscape of your soul. You can acknowledge them without surrendering to them. You can feel the storm without becoming the storm. Because the moment you start believing that every emotion is truth, you hand your power away, and life will test you. It will press every button. It will trigger every weakness to see if you've learned to stand still in the wind. Control doesn't mean coldness. It means clarity. It means when pain comes, you don't let it poison your perspective. When fear rises, you remind it who's in charge. When disappointment hits, you don't let it turn into despair. It's realizing that emotional stability is not a gift, it's a skill. It's training your mind daily to see beyond the moment, to think before reacting, to trust purpose over feeling. Every great dream will demand that you master yourself. You can't walk into destiny with an unstable heart. You can't build something lasting while being driven by temporary emotions. The storm inside you must bow before the purpose within you, because until you conquer yourself, you'll keep losing battles that don't even exist outside of you. The real victory isn't when others believe in you, it's when you believe in yourself enough to stay steady no matter how hard the wind blows. Your emotions will try to break you, but you were not built to break. You were built to rise. To look fear in the face and keep walking. To feel the weight and still move forward. to stand tall when everything inside you says fall. Because the greatest victory you'll ever win will never be seen. It will be felt in the quiet place within you, where peace defeats panic, faith silences fear, and strength overcomes emotion. Emotions are powerful, but not always truthful. They move us, shape our choices, and color the way we see the world. They can lift you up in one moment and tear you down in the next. They can convince you that you're winning when you're really drifting, or that you're failing when you're actually growing. Emotions are not bad, they're just unpredictable. They're like weather, constantly shifting, sometimes bright and clear, sometimes heavy and storming without warning. You can't stop them from coming, but you can choose how you respond when they do. The problem begins when we start to believe that what we feel is always what is real. You can feel unloved and still be deeply loved. You can feel alone and still be surrounded by people who care. You can feel like you're not making progress when in truth, every step you're taking is shaping your strength. Emotions whisper stories that sound convincing, but they're not always honest. They come from wounds, memories, insecurities, and fears that don't always match the present moment. When you let emotions dictate your reality, you end up reacting to echoes of the past instead of responding to the truth of now. So many people lose peace, not because of what's happening, but because of what they feel is happening. They allow a wave of emotion to drag them into decisions they can't undo. You've seen it. Someone gets angry and says something that burns a bridge they can't rebuild. Someone feels worthless and gives up right before the breakthrough was coming. Someone feels jealous, and instead of celebrating someone else's win, they sabotage their own growth. It's not logic that drives destruction, it's emotion left unguarded. Emotions are powerful forces, but they were never meant to be your leaders. They were meant to be your messengers. When you're angry, it's not a command to destroy. It's a signal that something feels unfair. When you're afraid, it's not a prophecy that failure is coming. It's a warning that something matters deeply to you. When you're sad, it's not a declaration of defeat. It's your soul asking for time to heal. Emotions speak, but wisdom interprets. Without wisdom, emotions become lies that sound like truth. You must learn to pause between feeling and acting. That small space is where power lies. Feelings rush you. Truth requires stillness. You don't need to silence your emotions. You need to test them. Ask yourself, is this real or just how I feel? Because there's a difference. Feelings are temporary, but the consequences of believing them blindly can be permanent. A storm may rage in your heart, but if you stand still long enough, you'll realize the sky always clears. When you start treating emotions as signals, not sentences, you take back control. You begin to understand that feeling weak doesn't mean you are weak. Feeling lost doesn't mean there's no direction. Feeling anxious doesn't mean you're out of options. Every emotion has a reason, but not every reason deserves your reaction. You can feel deeply and still move wisely. That's real power, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. The truth is, emotions often lie because they're rooted in perception, and perception can change. What feels like rejection today may turn out to be redirection tomorrow. What feels like loss may later reveal itself as protection. What feels like the end might be the beginning of something better. But you'll only see it if you don't make your emotions your gods. They were never meant to rule you. They were meant to serve you. The mind must lead, the spirit must guide, and the emotions must follow. When you learn to separate truth from feeling, you step into clarity. You start to live not by reaction, but by intention. You can't control what people do to you, but you can control what you do after it. Life will always throw situations at you that you didn't ask for, didn't expect, and didn't deserve. People will misunderstand you, disappoint you, and sometimes even betray you. Doors you were counting on will close, plans will fall apart, and timing will refuse to cooperate. You can't master that. You can't dictate how the world behaves or how others treat you, but you can master your response. And that's where your real strength begins to show. The most powerful people in the world aren't the ones who control everything around them. They're the ones who control themselves when everything around them is out of control. Your reaction defines your direction. Every time you respond with patience instead of panic, wisdom instead of wrath, and faith instead of fear, you shift the atmosphere of your life. Because the truth is, most of the damage in your journey doesn't come from what happened, it comes from how you reacted to it. The wound hurts for a moment, but the reaction can scar you for years. When you master your response, you're no longer a prisoner to circumstance. You stop giving your peace away every time something goes wrong. You stop letting people's behavior pull you into the same darkness they're living in. Someone can insult you, but you decide whether their words become your weight. Someone can reject you, but you choose whether that rejection becomes your identity. The power was never in their hands. It's always been in yours. Response is intentional. Reaction is fast, fueled by the heat of the moment. Response is calm, guided by understanding. When you react, your emotions drive. When you respond, your wisdom leads. The more you practice awareness, the less control the situation has over you. That's why peace isn't the absence of chaos. Peace is the ability to stay centered in the middle of it. Some people spend their whole lives trying to change the world around them instead of mastering the world within them. They think if they could just fix the people, the job, the system, the problem, they'd finally be okay. But life doesn't work that way. There will always be something outside of your reach, but your response will always be within your grasp. You can't rewrite the event, but you can rewrite the meaning. You can't choose what happens, but you can choose what it creates in you: bitterness or strength, weakness or wisdom. The power to respond differently is the power to grow. When you train yourself to pause before you speak, to breathe before you judge, to think before you act, you create space for wisdom to speak louder than emotion. That pause is the difference between peace and regret. That pause is the line between maturity and chaos. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about stewarding them. You're not ignoring what happened. You're refusing to let it control who you become. Every challenge is an invitation to prove what's really inside you. When you stop reacting to the storm and start responding with calm, you begin to lead your life instead of following your feelings. When anger rises, you can choose restraint. When fear shouts, you can choose courage. When offense knocks, you can choose peace. It's not that you won't feel the weight, it's that you refuse to let it dictate your next step. The person who masters their response holds authority in every environment. They don't crumble under pressure, they stand taller. They don't need the world to be perfect to move forward. They understand that life may not bow to their plans, but their attitude can still bow to their purpose. You can't control the waves, but you can learn how to steer the ship. You can't calm the storm, but you can calm yourself. And when you do, the storm loses its power over you. Feelings are powerful, but they were never meant to drive your purpose. Too many people build their lives around how they feel instead of what they were created to do. Feelings change from day to day. Sometimes from hour to hour. One moment you feel unstoppable, the next you feel defeated. One day you're full of motivation, and the next you can barely find the energy to move. If purpose depended on emotion, no dream would ever be completed. You can't build consistency on something that's constantly changing. Purpose requires discipline. And discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it demands what you're willing to do. When you let feelings drive your purpose, you begin to live reactively instead of intentionally. You start chasing comfort instead of calling. You say, I don't feel like it today, and before you know it, one day turns into weeks, weeks into months. And your dream begins to fade under the weight of hesitation. Greatness never bows to emotion. The strongest people in history didn't move because they felt inspired. They moved because they were convicted. They made a choice that purpose would lead and feelings would follow. Feelings make great passengers, but terrible drivers. There will be days when you wake up and everything inside you says, not today. Your energy will be low, your confidence will be weak, and your motivation will be nowhere to be found. But that's when purpose speaks louder. Purpose whispers, get up anyway. Purpose reminds you that how you feel right now doesn't define what you're capable of. Discipline is what bridges the gap between emotion and achievement. Every time you push past your feelings, you train your mind to lead your heart instead of being ruled by it. People often say they're waiting to feel ready, but readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. If you wait for the perfect emotional state to act, you'll wait forever. Progress doesn't wait for your comfort. It rewards your consistency. The gym doesn't care if you feel like working out. The business doesn't care if you feel motivated to show up. Your destiny doesn't care about your mood swings. Purpose moves when you move, not when you feel. You can cry, you can hurt, you can doubt, but still keep walking. That's how purpose works. It grows in motion, not emotion. Feelings will tell you it's too hard. Feelings will convince you to quit. Feelings will exaggerate pain and minimize progress. They'll whisper, you're not good enough, when you're closer than ever to breakthrough. That's why purpose must be anchored in something deeper, commitment. When you make a commitment to your calling, you stop negotiating with emotions. You stop asking, do I feel like it? And start declaring, I'll do it because it's who I am. Purpose is about identity, not impulse. When feelings drive, your life becomes unstable. One offense, one failure, one bad day can throw you completely off course. But when purpose drives, storms can rage and you'll still keep moving. You'll learn to act out of conviction instead of comfort. You'll understand that doing it tired still counts. Doing it scared still counts. Doing it unsure still counts. Because purpose doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. Feelings will never stop coming, but they don't have to stop you. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. You can feel discouraged and still take the next step. You can feel afraid and still walk in faith. You can feel overwhelmed and still move forward. That's what separates the dreamers from the doors. The dreamers wait to feel ready. The doors move anyway. When you stop letting feelings drive purpose, you take back control of your destiny. You stop living by temporary emotion and start living by eternal intention. Passion is a gift, but without control, it becomes a weapon turned against you. Passion is what ignites vision, fuels dreams, and gives life its fire. It's the heartbeat behind creativity, the drive behind ambition, the force that keeps you going when nothing else makes sense. But passion without discipline is chaos dressed in enthusiasm. It feels powerful, it feels alive, but it can destroy everything it touches when it's not directed with wisdom. The same fire that warms your home can burn it to the ground if you don't respect its boundaries. Many people mistake emotional intensity for purpose. They think being passionate automatically means being right, but passion is not proof of truth. Because something feels urgent doesn't mean it's important. Just because you care deeply doesn't mean you're in control. Passion makes you move fast, but control ensures you move correctly. Without control, passion becomes impulsive, reckless, and destructive. It makes you speak before you think, act before you plan, and quit before you finished. Passion wants results now, but control understands that growth takes time. The greatest leaders, creators, and visionaries all had passion, but what made them successful was control. They learned to channel their emotions instead of being consumed by them. They turned passion into purpose by applying patience, strategy, and focus. Passion is energy. Control is direction. Energy without direction is just noise. You can feel deeply and still think clearly. You can care passionately and still move wisely. The key is to make passion serve your purpose, not sabotage it. Uncontrolled passion can make you chase every opportunity, say yes to everything, and end up burned out and empty. It can make you fight battles that don't matter and miss the ones that do. It can make you believe that movement equals progress when in truth, motion without meaning is just exhaustion. You can be busy and still be lost if your passion isn't guided. Control is not the enemy of passion. It's the structure that makes passion sustainable. When you confuse passion with control, you start letting emotion dictate your actions. You let anger masquerade as courage, impatience pretend to be urgency, and obsession disguise itself as dedication. But true strength is not in how loudly you feel, it's in how wisely you act. Passion shouts, do it now, but control whispers, wait until it's time. Passion pushes you to start, but control helps you finish. Passion may open doors, but control keeps them open. Learning to control your passion doesn't mean you suppress it. It means you refine it. You learn when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move fast and when to slow down, when to push harder and when to step back. Passion gives you momentum, but control gives you mastery. Without mastery, passion becomes a storm, strong but directionless. It might look impressive for a moment, but it leaves destruction behind when it passes. Sometimes the greatest test of passion is restraint. It's easy to act when you're full of energy and emotion. It's harder to stay steady when everything inside you wants to explode. But that's where growth happens. Control doesn't kill passion, it purifies it. It strips away ego, impulsiveness, and fear, leaving behind purpose, clarity, and strength. Passion is the fire. Control is the container that gives it form. One without the other can't build anything lasting. Real power comes when you can feel deeply but stay composed, when you can love passionately but live wisely, when you can burn with desire yet still walk with discipline. Passion without control is noise. Passion with control is purpose. The difference between chaos and creation is control. Passion is your fuel, but control is your steering wheel. Without it, even the strongest fire will burn itself out before it ever lights the world. Emotional maturity is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about understanding them, managing them, and refusing to let them control your direction. It's the quiet strength that allows you to face chaos with calm, pain with patience, and disappointment with grace. Emotional maturity doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you feel deeply without falling apart. It's the bridge between emotion and wisdom, between reaction and reflection. And when you reach that place, you discover that emotional maturity is not just personal growth, it's spiritual strength. There comes a point in life where you realize that growth is not about shouting louder or fighting harder. It's about standing still and staying centered while everything around you shakes. You learn that not every battle deserves your energy. Not every offense deserves a response, and not every feeling deserves to lead. Spiritual strength is built in the moments when you could react but choose restraint. It's born in silence when your heart wants to scream, in patience when your pride wants to prove a point. Emotional maturity is choosing peace even when you have the power to create chaos. Many people think strength is about control over others, but real strength is control over self. It's easy to lose yourself in anger, to drown in sadness, to explode in frustration. But it takes divine power to stand in the middle of those storms and remain grounded. You realize that you don't need to attend to every argument you're invited to. You don't need to defend yourself against every false story, and you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. The more you mature emotionally, the more you value your peace over your pride. Spiritual strength is the ability to process pain without passing it on. It's when you can be hurt, but still choose kindness. When you can be disappointed, but still choose faith. When you can be misunderstood, but still choose love. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful, because reacting takes impulse, but responding takes wisdom. Retaliation is easy, but restoration takes strength. The spiritually strong know that everything doesn't need to be settled externally. Some battles are won in silence, in self-control, in surrender. Emotional maturity also means accepting that you can't control how others act, but you can control what you allow within yourself. You learn that peace is an inside job, and no one can give it or take it away without your permission. You stop expecting others to fix what only you can heal. You stop seeking validation from broken places. You stop demanding understanding from people who are still fighting battles within themselves. You start to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. As you grow spiritually, you begin to see emotions as teachers instead of enemies. Anger teaches boundaries. Sadness teaches empathy. Fear teaches faith. Every emotion has a message if you're mature enough to listen before you react. You stop condemning yourself for feeling and start learning from what you feel. That's emotional maturity, feeling everything but being ruled by nothing. Spiritual strength isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about catching yourself faster when you slip, forgiving yourself quicker when you fail, and returning peace sooner after you've been shaken. It's about choosing to be better instead of bitter. It's the daily practice of rising above your impulses and aligning with your higher self. Emotional maturity teaches you that power is not loud, not flashy, not controlling. It's calm, patient, steady, and unshaken. It's knowing who you are so deeply that no temporary emotion can make you forget it. When you reach that level of understanding, you stop reacting to every wave because you've learned to trust the ocean. You stop fearing the storm because you've realized the strength inside you is greater than what's around you. You become grounded, unmovable, and full of quiet power. That's what emotional maturity truly is, the merging of discipline, wisdom, and faith. It's strength that doesn't shout, it simply stands. Victory doesn't start when the world recognizes you, when the opportunity arrives, or when the results finally show up. Victory begins within. It starts in the unseen places, in the silent battles you fight when no one is watching. The war is never out there. It's in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your decisions, and in the discipline you choose daily. You don't win because life gets easier. You win because you get stronger inside. Every time you choose to rise above fear, doubt, or pain, you are winning battles that shape your destiny. The greatest wars are not fought on battlefields. They're fought in the mind. Before you conquer anything external, you must first conquer what's internal. You must silence the voice that says, I can't. You must challenge the feeling that says, I'm not enough. You must defeat the temptation to give up when it gets hard. Victory begins the moment you refuse to surrender to your own limitations. When your inner world aligns with strength, faith, and determination, your outer world begins to change. Nothing outside you can defeat the one who has conquered within. There's a reason why some people rise from the same pain that breaks others. It's not that they had fewer struggles, it's that they won the inner wall first. They decided that no matter what happened, they wouldn't let circumstances dictate their spirit. They learned to fight thoughts that told them it was over, to battle emotions that tried to control them, and to stand tall even when everything around them said, fall. That's where victory is born, in that hidden space where your mind says no, but your heart says keep going. Victory begins within when you start believing that you are capable of more than what you feel. Feelings will lie, situations will shift, and people will change, but your inner conviction must remain constant. You win when you stop letting external noise drown out your internal truth. You win when you stop comparing your journey to others and start focusing on your own progress. You win when you stop waiting for motivation and start acting from discipline. Victory is not a moment of applause. It's a mindset of endurance. Every challenge you face is an invitation to strengthen your inner foundation. When you feel pressure, it's not to break you, it's to build you. Pressure reveals cracks that need healing and strength you didn't know existed. That's why the most successful people are not always the most talented, they're the most resilient. They've trained their minds to stay steady when life gets uncertain. They've learned that the battle is rarely about the situation itself. It's about how you think through it, feel through it, and rise through it. Inner victory also means mastering self-control. You can't claim victory if you're still ruled by anger, fear, or insecurity. You can't walk in freedom while chained to the past. True victory begins when you stop being your own enemy, when you forgive yourself, when you heal what's broken, when you let go of what no longer serves you. Something powerful happens inside. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. You stop chasing peace and start carrying it within you. You have to guard your mind like it's sacred ground, because it is. Every thought you entertain either strengthens or weakens your foundation. You can't think defeat and expect victory. You can't speak doubt and expect confidence. The words you say to yourself are seeds. Plant faith, not fear. Plant courage, not excuses, because what grows inside will eventually show outside. Victory begins within when you decide that nothing will own your spirit, not pain, not failure, not fear. You become unstoppable when you realize that true strength is not about what you overcome in the world, but what you overcome in yourself. Every time you rise after falling, every time you choose hope over despair, every time you keep walking through uncertainty, victory grows quietly inside you. It may not be visible yet, but it's forming, it's building, it's becoming. And by the time the world sees it, the war inside has already been won.